Hello, welcome back to Histamine Health Coach. I'm Teresa Christensen, and I help women live well with histamine intolerance. If you're living with histamine intolerance, you probably spend a lot of time trying to figure out what your body is doing and why. You pay attention to what you eat. You look for patterns between food and symptoms. You search online, read forums, save lists, and occasionally find yourself doom scrolling through other people's reactions until you're really no longer sure what is safe for anyone to eat. You may have also been through endless doctor's visits, testings, and follow-up appointments, scheduled 3 months apart, of course. You leave with another test result or recommendation, but you still have to go home and figure out what to eat for dinner. And whether the headache, itching, belly pain, or sudden fatigue means something you ate was quote-unquote wrong. One of the hardest parts of histamine intolerance is the unpredictability. You could be paying close attention and still feel as though your body keeps changing the rules. I understand that because I've lived with histamine intolerance for years. For much of my time, I was also building a successful career in television production and graphic design for national television networks. The work involved travel, long days, demanding schedules, and high-pressure environments where the show was going on whether I felt well or not. After moving to Chicago, my symptoms became harder to navigate. At the urging of friends, I turned to functional medicine, looking for relief and a better understanding of what was happening in my body. That experience eventually led me to become a functional medicine certified health coach. I wanted to help women who have already tried everything they could, but were still struggling to live well with histamine intolerance. Through my own experience and my work with other women, I began to recognize 3 areas that can make living with histamine intolerance feel more manageable: finding relief, creating supportive routines, and learning to trust yourself again. Those 3 areas became the foundation of my program, Living Well with Histamine Intolerance. The idea behind it is something I believe is very important. Living well with histamine intolerance doesn't happen all at once. It happens with the right support in the right order. But that order will not look the same for every woman. One woman may need to begin by finding relief from a symptom that's become overwhelming. Another may already know some of the things that help her feel better, but she needs a more consistent routine. Someone else may have those routines in place, but still doesn't trust herself when something unexpected happens. This is private coaching, not a pre-written course, where everyone receives the same lesson during the same week. The program includes 3 areas of support: relief you can feel, routines that provide rhythm, and rooted in confidence. Each area includes specific tools and approaches that I can draw from depending on what a client wants to achieve. You may not want every part of the program, and we may not move through these areas in a straight line. We begin with what is happening in your body and your life right now. So let's start with relief you can feel. Before your body can begin changing patterns, it has to feel safer. When your body is on high alert, every symptom can feel urgent. You may find yourself constantly searching for what caused it, what might happen next, and what to remove, avoid, or change. After a while, it becomes difficult to tell what actually needs your attention and what doesn't. I remember an evening about 10 years ago. I'd taken a warm bath because I thought it would be relaxing. Instead, the heat triggered a flare. My skin began itching, burning, and the pain became so excruciating and overwhelming. I remember sitting on the edge of the tub in tears and asking God if I would still feel this pain when I went to heaven. It wasn't the first time a hot bath had affected me that way, but at that moment, I didn't understand why something that was supposed to be so relaxing was causing so much pain. I just wanted it to stop. Eventually, though, I began to understand the connection between heat and my symptoms. I learned that cooling my body can help calm the itching and burning. It didn't necessarily make everything disappear immediately, but it gave me a practical method I could do instead of feeling completely hopeless. That knowledge changed the experience of a flare, and I could recognize what was happening, respond to it, and trust that the intensity would begin to settle. This is what resilience can look like with histamine intolerance. It doesn't mean symptoms no longer happen or that they no longer affect you. It means you begin to understand what your body needs and how to support it when symptoms feel overwhelming. Each time you move through a flare with a little more understanding and a little less fear, it can lessen some of the impact on your nervous system. The symptoms may still feel uncomfortable, but it no longer carries quite the same sense of panic and helplessness. So, as a client, what does relief you can feel actually look like? Well, we begin by looking at what is happening in your life and your body right now. Which symptoms are making daily life more difficult? When do they tend to show up? What have you already tried? And how did your body respond? I'm a firm believer that you are the expert in your life and your body. That doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means only you can decide what relief feels like to you and whether a suggestion truly supports your body and fits into your life. As the client, you set the tone. My role is to help you look at what's happening, identify which symptoms need attention first, and uncover what may bring you relief. This process is personal because histamine intolerance does not show up the same way in every woman. One part of the program that may support your work is something I call sip and settle. I'm not going to unpack the entire process today, but it is one example of how we begin exploring what relief can look like for you. This area of the program is not about promising that every symptom will disappear. It's about helping you feel less helpless when symptoms happen. Once you have a better understanding of how to support your body and have more room to become curious, you can begin observing patterns without treating every reaction like an emergency. You can make decisions from a calmer place instead of changing 5 things at once because something went wrong. Relief is not the end of the process, but for many women, it gives us a place to begin. Another area of the program is routines that provide rhythm. The core idea here is simple. Your body often responds better to predictability than perfection. Once your system isn't constantly on edge, you have more room to begin looking for patterns. You can begin noticing not only what you eat, but when you eat, what happens before a symptom appears, and how the different parts of your day may be affecting one another. Rhythm gives your body something you can rely on without pushing it too hard. I once worked with a client named Sarah, whose husband made her coffee every morning. She would wake up, have her coffee, and then notice that her anxiety increased and her body had a difficult time settling. Coffee was part of the morning routine she enjoyed. Her husband was being thoughtful and she wanted to drink the coffee, of course. The goal wasn't necessarily to take it away. Instead, we looked at the order of the routine. Sarah began eating breakfast before drinking her coffee, rather than having caffeine on an empty stomach. With that small change, she noticed that her anxiety decreased and her mornings felt steadier and more balanced. It wasn't a dramatic overhaul. She didn't have to give up something she enjoyed or follow a complicated morning routine. She simply changed the order. This is the kind of information we can miss when we are only focused on whether a food belongs on a high histamine or low histamine list. Sometimes it isn't just about what you're eating or drinking. It may also be about timing, circumstances, and what else is happening in your body at that moment. Rhythm doesn't require perfection. It gives the body a sense of what to expect, and that steadiness can begin to build trust. Inside the coaching program, this means we look at the routines you already have instead of handing you an entirely new life to follow. We pay attention to what is working, whether your day tends to become more difficult, and where a small adjustment may help you feel more steady. The purpose isn't to create a rigid schedule or another set of rules that you have to follow perfectly. Your routine needs to fit your life. I'm not going to tell you that you have to wake up at a certain time, eat the same breakfast every morning, or organize your entire day around histamine intolerance. We work together to find a rhythm that supports your body while still allowing you to live your life. One of the tools I may draw from in this area is something I call the freedom to choose method. Even the name matters because this isn't about creating more restrictions. It is about helping you make choices based on what you're learning about your body rather than depending on another generic list to make every decision for you. As you begin noticing how your body responds, you gather information you can use. Instead of reacting to each symptom as though it appeared out of nowhere, you may begin to see what led up to it and what your body is asking for. One small shift may not seem very important on its own, but when that shift makes your morning feel steadier, your afternoon more manageable, or a decision less stressful, it becomes something your body can rely on. And sometimes a client already has routines that work fairly well. Her greater need may be learning to trust herself when something disrupts those routines. And that brings us to rooted in confidence. The core idea behind this area is that living well doesn't require symptom perfection. It requires trust. Confidence isn't something you earn after your body finally behaves. It's something you learn as you learn how your system communicates and how to respond when something unexpected happens. Last summer, I was stung by a hornet in the back of my neck as I was beginning my morning walk. The pain was immediate, but fortunately, I was still close to home. I turned around, went home, grabbed an ice pack, and gave myself time to breathe and think through what was happening without immediately going into panic mode. I knew my body wasn't going to be happy about the sting. I also knew my history, understood the signs that would require emergency care, and was prepared to act if those signs appeared. This wasn't about ignoring a potentially serious reaction. It was about staying calm enough to pay attention and make a clear decision. I gave my body a little time to show me how it was going to respond, and once I had a better sense of what was happening and felt comfortable that I wasn't going to the emergency room, I was able to finish my walk, with an assist from my husband, of course. As the day progressed, I eventually experienced a few reactions, but they weren't game changers. I paid attention, responded to what my body needed, and continued with my day. That is what confidence can look like. It isn't the absence of symptoms, and it certainly doesn't mean ignoring a serious reaction. It means responding with a little more clarity and a little less fear. When you have histamine intolerance, an unexpected symptom can quickly lead to an unexpected thought. What if this gets worse? Confidence gives you enough space between the symptom and the fear to assess what is actually happening. You begin to recognize what your body is communicating, what needs your attention, and when you need additional help. Inside the coaching program, Rooted in Confidence means using what you have learned about your body to make decisions you trust. You may still have moments when you aren't sure what caused a reaction. You may still encounter a new food, an unexpected schedule change, or something completely outside of your control, like a hornet with no respect for my morning walk. The difference is that every unexpected symptom no longer has to send you back to the beginning. You have a better understanding of your body. You know what's happened before. You can pause, pay attention, and make a decision based on what is happening, rather than immediately assuming the worst. One of the ideas we may explore in this area is what I call the reliable body dream. It doesn't mean expecting your body to become perfectly predictable. It means thinking about what feeling more reliable would mean in your own life and what might become possible if the fear of a reaction were no longer making every decision for you. This is where all three areas begin to come together. Relief helps quiet the noise, rhythm brings steadiness, and confidence helps you feel more like yourself again. When they come together in the order that makes sense to you, something important begins to shift. You find yourself doom scrolling less and understanding your body more. You spend less time looking for someone else's perfect answer and more time trusting what you are learning about yourself. This is what living well with histamine intolerance means to me. It doesn't mean having a perfectly behaved body or living a life without symptoms. It means histamine intolerance no longer makes every decision for you. If you've been trying to piece this together by yourself and you're ready for personalized support, I'm opening 5 spots for the fall session of Living Well with Histamine Intolerance. This 3-month private coaching experience begins in September with individual start dates scheduled around each client. If this sounds like the kind of support you've been looking for, visit histaminehealthcoach.com or email me directly at teresa@histaminehealthcoach.com. I'll personally respond so we can talk about what you need and whether this program is the right fit for you. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and keep listening to your body. Have a great day. Bye.